Welcome to Women Disrupting Tech. My name is Henny Hoekstra, and on this podcast I give the women who work in tech the platform they need to inspire and empower each other. Join me on a journey into the world of entrepreneurship, funding, biases and role models to discover the strategies for success in the tech industry. In other words, how women can disrupt tech. Are you ready to listen? Hey, welcome back to Women Disrupting Tech, and thank you for tuning in to episode 120. In high school, Henny Hoekstra was told that computer science wasn't necessary. At 20, she never imagined having a future in tech. Yet, her curiosity carried her from growth hacker to co-owner of Pluvo, turning doubt into fuel for building better companies. In this episode of Women Disrupting Tech, Henny is our guide as we explore how curiosity shapes leadership. It's a story about courage, resilience, and building teams that last. By listening, you'll discover what it takes to build better, more resilient companies in tech, how she shifted from being an employee to being a co-owner, and why a curious mind is a joy forever. Her story is proof that companies thrive when leaders stay curious, invest in people, and dare to follow their own spark. So, when you're ready to discover how curious minds build better companies in tech, please welcome to Women Disrupting Tech, Henny Hoekstra. Henny Hoekstra, good afternoon. Welcome to Women Disrupting Tech. Question I always start with is how you got into your current position or current role as a director and co-owner of Pluvo.
Yeah, I think it's not the most logical story looking at my study background. I studied international business, and most people, when they finish a master's, they just go to corporates or the big four. Consultancy, it's more like a logical path. But when I graduated, I was traveling for a while and I was thinking, like, what do I really want to do? And I really felt strongly that I wanted to work somewhere on a company that I could still form a little bit, but where I could also make some impact. And
Mm-hmm.
I worked before during my internship at a software company. So when I finished traveling, I was just looking for vacancies and I saw there was a company that was launching a new product called Pluvo. And I looked at the website and I tried it out. I was like, oh, this might be interesting. And I knew back then that growth hacking was really cool thing, So I really want to be a growth hacker. I really liked the marketing part of my studies. So I was like, I'm going to be a growth hacker. It sounds really cool.
Uh-huh.
And so I applied and I started working here. Most of our team was then working on the other company, and me, the founder, and two developers were actually responsible for building Pluvo. And I was just responsible, like, hey, make the company grow. And they hired me from a marketing perspective. But when you do marketing well, you probably get some leads as well. You need to do some sales. Then I rolled into sales, and yeah, actually from then I started getting my own team. And at one point they asked me if I want to become one of the co-owners of the company.
Cool. Yeah. So, Pluvo is a tech company. Um, what made it interesting for you to work in tech?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I must say, if I look back in my life, I've always been very interested in computer stuff. But when I went to high school, it was a little bit old fashioned. I want to do like informatics as a subject, and they said like, hey, no, it's not necessary. So I was just going the economics path. But fortunately, I ended up at the University of Twente, which is like a
Okay.
technical university. So I did
Yeah.
an alpha studies at a technical university. So that meant that a lot of people that I met there, they were quite technical. And when I was looking for my bachelor thesis graduation internship, I walked around in the business days. We have like these business days, you can meet some companies, and they're all quite technical. And then I saw this guy standing there with a VR glasses, and I was like, oh, let's try that out. Well, I didn't have my balance, I kept falling over. Started talking with him, and he was like, hey, we want to expand to Germany. Are you interested in doing an internship on that? So I was interested because I was studying international business, always loved the German language. So I was like, "Oh, let's do that." And then I came there to that company. They had 2 offices, one in the, Netherlands, in Amersfoort, and one in Enschede. Amersfoort was more about the salespeople, marketing people, but 2 days a week, I was in Enschede between the developers. And then I saw what they were doing and that they were constantly improving the product, and there were, like, new releases and new ideas, and they were the whole part of, "Hey, we have an idea, we want to transform the product," and then being able to do it as quickly as in 1 day, that kind of fascinated me. I was
Uh-huh.
like, "Oh, this is so different than, I don't know, buying a vacuum cleaner." It's a product you can improve every day.
Yeah.
And, there I really got along, pretty well with the developers as well, and that's the point that I really fell in love with tech. I was like, "Oh, I really like this." But if you've asked me when I was 20 if I would end up in tech, I would probably have said no.
But then again, what I'm hearing you say is that it's a lot like growth hacking, the way they developed.
Yeah, kinda. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that they're, like, very growth hacking minded, but the whole thing as we have an idea and let's test it quickly, let's build it.
Yeah,
The
sorry,
the the
that's
the
what I meant.
fastness of that,
Yeah,
that's fascinating, isn't it?
yeah.
You can always improve.
Okay, so it's in part also the pace at which things were happening.
Yeah, I
That's
really
yeah.
like that. And also the fact that, so the alignment between, for example, a customer
Mhm,
and the software, I mean, I
mhm.
believe that they should be really close to each other, and that's also possible. So as we as commercial team can spot the trends and the things that our customers want, and it's quite easy to get to the product team and discuss that. If you have a physical product, because my other company is in wine, well, the wine is here now, 1,500 bottles. If someone says, I would like to have this changed, that's not possible. So that the fast pace of innovating, but also improving for your customers, that's yeah, for me, that fascinates me every
Yeah,
day.
okay. So I wanna switch gears a bit in terms of, moving back to Pluvo, but also maybe the guys you worked with, in, Enschede during your internship. Were they all was this an all guys team that you ended up
Yes.
working in as a girl?
Yeah, so at Enschede, there were some females, but there were not on the tech side. So
Mhm,
we had a few, mostly men. I would say like 90% men. And at Pluvo, I was the only woman for a long time.
okay. So how did you make that work for yourself? Because you did you have to sort of get the respect of those guys?
And so I have one advantage when I came here, and that was that I did it before, and I studied in Enschede, which is like a
Mm,
still male-dominated field.
yeah,
I've also lived together with 4 guys in one house a long time. I was the only girl. So I thought I would be prepared, but I wasn't prepared on their unpreparedness. So I came here, and I think they were a little bit afraid of me, I would say. And
in what
later on,
sense?
I yeah, well, and later on, they told me because now we got along pretty well. It's not, yeah, it was not only because you were a woman, but also you were a commercial person. So that's a different type. They talk more, they're more enthusiastic. And they really didn't know what to do with it. And I must honestly say, they always did a lunch walk. But when I started, they quit doing the lunch walk. So I was always walking with one person. And at one point, he said to me, like, "Yeah, we normally walk with much more people, but not since you're here." So that was kind of a shocker for me.
So they really had a problem adapting
Yeah, they
to
were
you
not used
coming?
to it. Yeah.
But what do you know if it was more personality wise? Because indeed, salespeople are much your stereotype developer, let's say.
Yeah, I think it's a combination, probably. I mean, I think I just brought a whole new personality to the company.
Mhm.
If you look at the current team, we have it's much more diverse in personalities, but also male, female. But I think it was a combination of that. And also, like, maybe we females, we react different to things. We bring a different energy. And it just took them time for them to adapt to that. But I knew that before from the other software company because that was the same. But the thing is, if you are interested in their product and not only having the classical field, like, oh, you sell something people we don't have. Something I do as a salesperson is only selling the product that we offer, and I share a vision. And it's not like, hey, I'm selling all kinds of stuff and then go to development. Yeah, you develop this. It's the other
Mhm.
way around. They gained trust over time, and I think now they're quite happy that I joined.
Okay. How long did it take?
I would say 2-3 months, maybe.
Oh, so it
Yeah,
happened relatively quick. No,
exactly.
for a moment I thought, okay, this took a year or so.
No, it was okay. They adapt
Okay,
quickly.
okay. So the lunch walks resumed after a couple of months.
Yeah, but it's interesting because this year we also hired a different personality
Hmm.
for sales. Like I would say like a really salesperson, sales, and I also saw that the company had to adapt to that. And now, like it's always about adaptation. Like, okay, something's changing, what's happening, and then we get a new equilibrium together. So I think that's what happened as well when I joined the company.
Okay, so it was more like yeah, everyone getting to grips with or getting to know each other and getting used to each other.
Yeah, I think so. And
Yeah.
it's probably not only because I'm female.
Okay. Did you do anything special to make it work or to speed
Tried
up the
chatting with
process?
them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, showing interest in. 'Cause I know, like, I joined as, like, the first non-tech, I would say.
Mhm.
But fortunately, I'm very interested in tech, and I just really want to know, like, "Hey, where are you working on, and how does it work?" And they also felt respected in their work. Um, so I think it goes often wrong if we don't talk with each other and if we don't
Uh-huh.
take interest in each other, right?
Yeah.
But I think as commercial team, it's also very important to understand what product is doing and vice versa.
Yeah.
So I think that really helped me, finding my place in the company.
Okay. Cool. How has that you said you have a much more diverse team right now from when you started. How has that led to a change and what is that change like?
Yeah, for me, it feels like the company is changing all the time when we add different people. Uh, we see now, like, we built much more of a commercial team. There's much more. So first, one of the founders and I, we were doing like everything commercial strategize, and the other people kind of followed, I must say. And now we have like more people that also have a lot of ideas about the growth, and they are like really committed and very enthusiastic about the company. And suddenly you get completely different visions on stuff,
Uh-huh.
things you never thought about. So that really helps us as well in developing the company, hiring different personalities so you get different perspectives on stuff.
You're a director now. You're quite young for a director. How do people respond to that, especially the new people and also new clients?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, I joined Pluvo when I was 24, and because you're like startup, quite fast, I had to sit next to directors of 50 plus,
Uh-huh.
and it took me a while to get used to that. I really had like the imposter syndrome. I was like, oh, I'm young, I'm a woman, and what do I know? Um, and then I learned a little bit to fake it till you make it, because I was like, the way you walk in a meeting, like I had like some people saying stuff when I was younger about my age and stuff like that, and that doesn't happen anymore. But because I know a lot about our field, about learning, about development, about our platform, so for now it's not a thing anymore. But when I was younger and a little bit more insecure, they really picked on me on that. Like, oh, aren't you too young for this? Now I never hear this again. I only hear people saying, "Oh, I do respect that you're already doing it this at this age." So.
Do you
Most
still
people
have,
respond well,
yeah.
but
So
you
do you
have
have
to
to,
show.
yeah. Do you have the feeling that you have to prove yourself a bit more as a woman though?
Always. But I yesterday I had a discussion. I also am in a young management. It's a club with a lot of people below the age of 40 that all are entrepreneurs or high managers. And I had a discussion with a friend of mine from there, and she has to say, like, you always have to show and prove that you know what you're talking about. And for me, it does feel a little bit more that I have to really show that, be
Uh-huh.
a little bit more dominant to get respect, and then we can continue the conversation. But that's something I hear from more women that are playing on a higher level. You have to show that you actually know what you're talking about. It's not that you automatically get respected because you're there in your function.
Do you think that's because you're a woman or because of your age?
Might be a combination, but we all know about the biases, right? If you look
Uh,
at politicians, how they describe men versus how they describe women, I'm quite sure there are a lot of biases about female directors as well.
so how do you deal with that? Because I can imagine that you don't want to be like dominant if you don't
No,
have to.
like sometimes you have to be. It
Yeah.
depends on which personality type you're dealing with, right? Like sometimes you have like really red people, and then I sometimes also have to use my red part. But I once was at the podcast of Wheel of SaaS, and then
Mm,
Johan, you might know him as well.
yeah.
He told me like, we don't need more masculine females of females that try to be masculine. We just need the feminine energy in it. And I also try to take that into account that I have to work for my own power and not try to be something that I am not.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean I'm never dominant because I also have the part in me, but it shouldn't be faked. It should be like how I am in the situation should be me and not someone else. Trying to be like a dominant man. No, I should try to use my femininity as well in it.
So how do you do that? How do you mix that? How do you find the right mix?
And that's a good question because yeah, I don't know if people can see what we're doing, but I smile a lot and that helps a lot. I think. I mean that's something I normally do as well, but I know that I have some kind of energy and people like that most of the time, and it makes them happy and enthusiastic. And I think that's one of my core qualities as well. However, when I'm negotiating, because I also do negotiations, yeah,
Uh,
then I will tap into that other maybe more red energy zone.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh,
But is that
yeah,
also because at that point it's sort of expected? It's part of the game that you have to
yeah,
be able to bluff a bit?
maybe yes, but sometimes people kind of can get aggressive in conversations, right? And then you don't want to be nice. Like sometimes people say, "Yeah, yes, I really want this and this," and some people could be like this in a negotiation. Then I don't want to be the nice smiling women because then we're negotiating, and most of the time that's what they mostly say about don't take that personal. It's the negotiation game, and I had to learn that from male peers that hey, Henny, it's not personal. Sometimes it's like a game, the negotiation. So yeah, maybe it is what you're saying that I'm
Yeah.
using that because part of the game.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I can imagine. Have you had any mentors that taught you how to function?
well, what I quickly found out when I started here is that I was looking for knowledge which I couldn't find in the company. So quite fast, I was going to all kinds of startup events, joined some communities. Well, also with young management, that's a really good community for me because you can just talk about the things you are facing. And I have some people, sometimes I drink coffee with them or I ask them some stuff. They are older, mostly male though, but I kind of ask them on advice like, hey, what should I do in this situation? What should be the next step? Because I really found out that not all knowledge is inside the company
Uh-huh.
because you are building the company.
Yeah.
So you have to look for other people. And I sometimes call them mentors,
Yeah.
but it's just the people that I ask for advice to.
Okay. So you have let's say a network of people that to talk to ask for advice. Call
I
that a
think that's
mentor,
one
a
of
coach. Yeah.
exactly. I think that's one of the most important things of well being successful.
Uh,
Or trying to become successful is find the right people around you because you also will need people that support you. Because I also when I was saying like, hey, I might be becoming a co-owner of Pluvo, that I had quite some friends saying like, hey, you shouldn't do it. It's a risk. I mean, you just don't become it, and you have to buy part of the company, and it's kind of a risk. And if I wouldn't have other people surrounding me,
mhm.
maybe from the network clubs, some other entrepreneurs that I knew, they really were like, "Hey, you should do it. Take the chance." And maybe, like, because I don't have a family network that would support me in that as well, because I'm not from an entrepreneurial family. Maybe if I wouldn't have the right people surrounding me, maybe I never dare to take the leap. So in female leadership, it's so important to also have people surrounding you that support you.
Okay, I want to double click on one thing. At some point, you get the offer to become a co-owner. What changed? Did you observe any change in how people responded to you as a person
Yeah,
before and after?
yeah,
And I'll preface this because I talked to Esther Bisschop. It's episode 93 for those who are listening. And in the episode, she shares about her experience transitioning from an employee at an e-learning company to being a co-owner, and that all of a sudden for her things changed, even though for her co-workers, then all of a sudden they became her employees,
yeah.
and that's sort of shifted dynamics and energy. I was wondering how that was with you.
Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes change are subtle, but I think the person who had the hardest time with the change was me. Um, because I was already kind of leading the company from a commercial perspective. Um, Maybe some colleagues now suddenly say, "Oh, she's one of the co-owners," but I think a lot of customers already thought somehow that I was a co-owner. So that was doing pretty well. Only sales negotiations went easier because suddenly I can say I'm the co-owner, and then they kind of sound stupid, but they kind of respect you a little bit more. But for me, I've worked. They were my bosses, my co-founders, for a couple of years, and suddenly I was their equal. And like they're 50 plus. That's why I love that I took the chance. Like they are the white gray men, and they supported me and from my young age and gave me this chance. They didn't find it hard that I joined, but for myself, I was always like, you're still in my head. It took so much time that they to shift that from how they are my bosses to they are my equals, and I think it took me 2 years to get to that point that I also saw myself as equal. That
Okay,
was the hardest part.
so what did you have to shift in your mind?
That my opinion is equally important, and that they are not anymore the final decision makers, but that I am also one of them.
Hmm.
And it's not that they acted like I was not one of them. It was more mentally in my own head that I really had to make that shift. Like, oh, I'm more important this now as well, and I can also make decisions on my own instead of like always having to verify that.
Yeah. So you had to learn to take space.
Yeah, I had to learn to take space, and they never worked against me. It was really a
Hmm?
thing for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you have any help with that?
Well, first I didn't really talk about that, and I was a little bit stubborn. I was like, "Oh, this will be fine." And at one point, I was blocking myself. I felt like I was blocking myself, and then I started talking to people about it. And then I talked to some friends about it who were also like entrepreneurship stuff like that. And then I also could have the conversations with them, and somehow that cleared the air for me, and then everything went better. But
Okay.
I had to talk about it.
Yeah. How did you sort of find for yourself that you had to start talking about it? What were signals
I
that
felt
that you felt
happy.
that you knew? Okay, I'm so stuck now that I need help from other people to get unstuck, which is great. If you actually find out.
Yeah, well, I had a huge imposter syndrome, I would say. And I kind of felt during management team that I didn't always say what I wanted to say. And it made me very unhappy at the end of the day. It was like there was like this itch, and I was like, I'm not happy with how I see myself in this. But I also knew that that was my own thing. It comes from my youth. I knew where it come from. So it was also interesting because it's also linked on like the how do you say the convictions you have about yourself, right? It's all about your youth and what you made through there, and then suddenly in work life it comes there as well. Um, so I went also to therapy. Yeah, I also took some therapy on that because there were some blockers from my youth that made that I didn't take space for myself because I thought I wasn't worth that. And And because of therapy, I also tried to talk with my friends about it, and things became more clear and took care of some traumas, and now I feel much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So therapy does help.
Yeah, for me it helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because
Wow.
sometimes it's not always about what you feel right now, what you're blocking right now is something from now. I found out it was from my past, something I didn't take care of. So, yeah, I had to take care of that as well to go further business wise.
Yeah. It's powerful. I'm sort of in that type of shift. I'm
All
looking for a
right.
different type of therapy. A friend of mine does what is called healings.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
called compassion key healings. If you want to Google it, feel free. Um, and don't blame me for doing it. It's just yeah.
You have to try
Uh,
stuff, find out what
uh,
works for you.
yeah, yeah, and also, but also look at, let's say, things that happened in the past and see that that I have stayed on the shelf for a really long time and that are not working for me anymore because so far I could hide those parts. And now I all of a sudden feel like, hey, maybe this doesn't work for me, so I need to start taking care of it. So yeah,
And that's the same what I saw. Like, I could deal with it for a long time until I
mm,
couldn't anymore. And
yeah,
then you have to do something.
yeah. But thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no
Really,
worries.
yeah, it's something that isn't talked about a lot or enough. That's
No,
so
it's taboo sometimes,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah,
Well, it can help so much people. And I think, but that's also because it's about women disrupting tech. But for men, it's even harder to go to therapy because there's also bias on that, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. For women, it's sort of accepted in a sense. For men, I don't think it's really accepted at all.
No, it should be, but
Should
it
be
is
it's
not.
because it's actually I the more I look into it, the more I hear that it's actually quite normal also for men, and that it's actually also quite needed for men uh, to talk about their feelings, to talk about things that may have happened in the past that they didn't feel comfortable with, or that sort of blocked them now that have an impact. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, good that you're taking the step.
yeah, yeah. It took a bit of time and a bit of courage, but yeah, here we are. So
Yeah. It took me a lot of time as well to get there. So I think that's normal, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, I think so too. It just takes. I was talking to that friend, and she asked, "So okay, why now?" And I told her, "Well, initially, I didn't really know what I wanted to get out of it. So, and now I know that it's sort of a readiness thing. You have to get ready to accept for yourself, but also to, in my case at least, to find a sort of quote unquote use case.
Yeah, it makes sense. And yeah, it is not easy therapy. It takes time, a lot of mental effort. It does help you further, but you kind of have to be ready for it. And I
Hmm.
postponed it for years as well. And I knew,
Because you were
what can,
afraid of the consequence of
yeah,
what you
maybe
were
afraid of
going to
pain.
dig up.
Yeah, I think afraid of pain and a lot of, it was hard to go to the traumas. I mean, I had EMDR, so that's not fun. It's very useful, like trauma therapy. It's very useful, but it's really heavy, and it means that you have to go to things you don't want to think about. You push it away all the time, but
Yeah,
your body keeps score, so they are there anyway. And yeah, it's confronting, I think. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's still waiting for me, but yeah.
maybe you'll make a podcast about it one day.
Yeah, well, probably I will. It's just because it's also, I think it's also intellect, the whole concept of therapy. I've had a few podcasts about therapy and mental health so far, so I know a bit about it, but I think the whole mental health aspect is really underserved and under, how do you say, not under researched, under highlighted.
Yeah.
and it deserves much more credit than it gets.
Also, from a business perspective, if I don't feel well mentally,
Mm.
I cannot take care of the company and of my employees. So it should be like a number one priority. It doesn't mean that I can always make it because I also sometimes neglect my mental health until I need to take some more time for that. But if I don't feel well, I'm not creative. I cannot support people. I cannot do good sales calls. So yeah, we should take care of
Yeah, yeah,
ourselves more, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. I want to go back to our prep conversation because you told me that your partner actually encourages you to be a role model.
Yeah, he does. I never thought about that.
But what does it mean to you,
Yeah.
being a role model?
So that was also a little bit like, hey, why should I be the role model? Like just doing my thing and I'm liking it. And I also have my own insecurities. But he told me because he is also in tech. He's but from the tech side. So
Uh
he's a
huh.
principal engineer, very techy, very smart. And so he also works mainly with men, of course,
Hmm.
and in the SaaS business. And he said like, well, Henny, uh, there are hardly women like you. And also like I'm also in my sorority and I also organized an ambitious day because I really feel like we women can do a lot, even if you don't always have the right background. And he said, like, well, you lead by example. I mean, you're very enthusiastic, but you do it from your own perspective and you're making it successful. And he said to me, like, I think it inspires a lot of people. And that when I look back, there were quite some people, women said to me, like, you inspire me, but you always push it a little bit aside. But I was like, oh, yeah, but if I can inspire only one person, why not? And the only way to do that is to stay yourself and use
Yeah.
your own energy, know your own power. So I felt a little bit uncomfortable when he was saying that, like, a role model, role model. But I do think that I made different choices than some people, and that did lead me to my happy life. So if I can, yeah, inspire people with that, why not?
Yeah. But what I'm also hearing you say that you actually have to be happy with your and comfortable with yourself to step into
Yeah.
that role.
I think so because I a lot of people think of themselves as an outsider, and I think I had that as well. I all still have that. And at one point, I was like, okay, people always have the opinions of me. Example was, hey, becoming a co-owner. I think most people said I shouldn't do it. Um, but I really tried to like focus more on what do I want instead of what does the world want from me. And for me, it feels 100% that I'm currently leading the life that I'm supposed to live. And if you know a little bit about my background, my both parents died when I was quite young. So they couldn't support me in this whole journey. But that also made me realize that life is quite short and that it's too short to keep listening to what other people want if you want to do something different. And I hope more people will do that.
There's a great quote by Steve Jobs about this. Don't let the voices of others drown out your inner voice.
Exactly. And if you look backwards, you can always connect the dots. That's what he says as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
for me, it feels as well like that. Yeah.
yeah. You're also quite visible in SaaS and in tech right now. I think because of also because of the role you have. What do you wish more people would understand what SaaS and being a woman in SaaS and tech is actually like?
It's not as scary as people think it is. And it doesn't mean you have to be a hardcore coder to work in tech. I think there should be some part of you that likes innovation or software or whatever, but it doesn't mean you have to be very technical to be successful in SaaS. And I
No,
think a
but
lot of people think they should know a lot about coding and stuff like that, but that's not true.
yeah, that's true. That a lot of people still think that tech is coding and putting things together like Lego, and then they're. Do you think it's afraid, people being afraid of failing that they don't try?
Yeah,
That
so
they,
for
that
me,
yeah?
it was also about growing up. Like I think if I would have a different education, I would probably end up here as well. I know it was more a coincidence. Well, it's not a coincidence if you listen to Steve Jobs, but um, it's also maybe because when I grew up in a village and I'm now 31 years old, but back then it was really like girls play with Barbies and guys do the more technical stuff.
Uh-huh.
And because we are not immersed in the more tech part, we might think that it's not suitable for us. But that's not true at all. So maybe if because we don't know it doesn't mean that we cannot do it.
Yeah. But do I then also understand that you think it has to do with immersion in
Yes.
so being really immersed and also to an extent being curious, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's of course I think a curious mind is a joy forever.
Uh,
Always keep learning, of course.
mm,
But I also think like if you never try it, and that's also about whole education and like parents can also play a role in that in showing not because you're a woman you have to do something social and as a guy you have to do something technical. I think in our whole educational system we need to try let get everybody get in touch with tech and that's improving. I know that, but I knew that when I grew up there was like a huge split up between the different genders.
yeah. Yeah, that was true for me as well.
Yeah, you
Even
were
though I'm 20 years older than you are, the same things like girls. Well, yeah, actually, Barbie was around. So, yeah, girls were playing with dolls and guys were playing with cars. And
I never liked Barbies. That was a problem when I was younger.
oh, yeah, then that was, that must have been difficult.
Yeah, I
Or
thought they
not,
were
maybe not.
stupid and too superficial, and I just want to play on a computer.
Yeah, but that's one of the things I still want to just rewind on. Um, You were interested in computers, but they said it was not necessary at school, so they didn't
So bad.
let you?
Yeah, so like when you like to the fourth grade, right?
Huh?
Then you can always choose the subjects. And I wanted to choose a subject, computer science subject, and they said like, no, we're not offering it because it's not important. And I, and
Not offering it, period, or not offering
yes,
it to women?
no, not offering it because they said it's not. And one of the reasons that I wanted to work at a learning company is because I was so frustrated with my high school. If I look back, it's like I really was when I graduated, like I want to change this. So because I didn't agree with a lot of things. So I think that that triggered also something like why not? And when I look back, I'm like, how could they say that subject is not important and also they will not offer it?
Yeah,
That's insane,
but
isn't it?
that's knowledge of hindsight.
Yeah, it is. But
But
yeah, it's
the
crazy.
hindsight in this case, we're talking 2004, 2005, I guess,
Yeah,
around
how
that
old
time,
am I?
2006.
15,
Where,
15 years ago. Yeah,
yeah. So back then, like if it was, because I actually got the chance to do some computer sciences on the side, so to learn to code, mobile. Uh, this is 1985, and we were like girls and boys heavily encouraged. Hey, you have to do this.
yeah,
This is the future.
yeah. I
85.
know.
So I'm a
What?
bit surprised about people saying in 2006, like 20 years later, like, "Wow, it's not important.
Not important.
You don't need that."
When I told my boyfriend this, he was really angry.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like what? But yeah, at the end, it all turns out pretty well.
yeah. Hey, let's talk about Pluvo.
Yes.
Maybe good to tell people what Pluvo does.
So Pluvo is a learning management system. That always sounds a bit boring, but it's not because organizations they can only grow when people are growing, right? And a lot of companies they just want to have a central place for that. So think about creating e-learnings, so I don't have to explain people all the time how stuff work. Organizing meetings, making learning journeys for onboarding, but also the compliancy part. So when people get an audit, they can say like, "Hey, we educated our people all the time." And we built a complete platform for that, for in organizations to manage that and to make that as easy as possible. So that's what we do.
Okay. So just to be clear, you don't do the content of the e-learnings, but you
Exactly.
do the process around it
Yeah,
to
and they can.
log if people completed stages to or completed educations to certifications to keep them updated to the making it auditable for, let's say, if you have let's just take an ISO certification
For
as a
example.
base.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we do. And they can create their own e-learnings, but we don't offer the content. Because a lot of companies, when you go to an onboarding at Pluvo, it will be different when you go to your company to an onboarding. So we try to make that as easy as possible as well for them to share that knowledge within minutes, we always say, but especially organize it as well. And we're getting more and more customers that have to work with obligatory trainings, compliance requirements, legislation is changing. So that's also an important aspect. So sharing the knowledge, but also checking, do people actually know and are they certified to do their job?
Yeah, what do people get, or what do companies get wrong when it comes to this?
What do they get wrong? Like in general sense?
Yeah, what do they not understand about the need to have systems like Pluvo?
Yeah, I think a lot of time they think like, oh, we can do it on our own, and then they spend like hours a week trying to like change the Excels, losing stuff, but also losing people because it's also about personal development. And we know the younger generations find that even more important than salary. So it's also about not investing in your employees. And if you're doing it and it's everywhere, it's scattered, it takes so much time and money.
Yeah.
So they have to transition that, but sometimes they think like, ah, no, we just put it in Excel and it should be fine. But then you're not really motivating your employees to actually grow and learn.
No,
And I think
and yeah, that's really important, and it becomes more important with new generations coming in. So how do,
so.
so
That's
it
maybe the misconception, isn't it? That
yeah,
organizations don't think that learning and development is important, but it is. It's the only way you
that
can
that
survive,
that would like really be interesting if you
isn't it?
think learning is not important.
Yeah. Well,
Like
they
how,
say it's
or
important, but we don't want to spend time on it.
yeah, but
That
then it's not important.
no, exactly.
If you just focus on the productivity part of people, and even then, I think people need to learn new processes. So at some point,
I would say if you're not focusing on learning on development of your employees, your company will not grow anymore and you might go bankrupt. I think it's essential. And I think we're getting more and more there because, life is changing quicker and quicker. So we see a lot of companies, they become more conscious on like, oh, we should do that pretty well. Also because the new generation really requires it. But that doesn't mean that all companies realize it yet. They hopefully will, but not everyone.
that's interesting. I would think that nowadays, with the speed that AI is developing and number of other technical developments and the increase of requirements, people, especially let's say the larger companies, would be like, okay, hey, we need to wrap something around it.
Yeah, and that's why
Okay,
it's a good business where we're in
yeah,
because more companies are realizing it, but it's a shift we're going through.
yeah. So what is the shift then?
I think the consciousness on how important it is to invest in learning and development, I really see this like more and more companies. First, it should be something that HR does. A lot of companies get a special person that does the learning development part.
Mhm.
We really see like the amount of in the SMEs, for example. So like learning management was done in the corporates,
Yeah,
and we focus more on the SMEs. That part is really growing, and that also the SME market is now like, hey, if we don't invest in our employees, they will walk away, and we cannot replace them because we have a lack of people.
yeah, and
So
a lack of knowledge
and a lack
preservation
of knowledge. Yes, exactly. Yeah,
because then essentially what I'm hearing you say is your company literally bleeds to death.
I would say so. Yeah.
Uh, so what kind of customers come to you? So it's SME.
Yeah, it's a lot of factories and production locations, but it's also government. And it's also like artists, the Royal Zoo, they use it as well to like educate their employees and their volunteers. So it's kind of diverse. But one thing they have in common is they want to share their own knowledge and they are willing to invest in their employees.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're hearing this and you want to preserve knowledge and educate your employees and keep your employees in board, then yeah,
Send me a message.
yeah,
Just look at our website, of course, but you can also
uh,
say like, "Hey, I listened to the podcast."
yeah.
That would be nice.
Okay. So uh, what does Pluvo look like in 5 years, you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. I had to apply for a tender and they asked for us for the 5-year roadmap. And honestly, things are going so fast right now. I know where we will be like in 1 year, but where we will exactly be in 5 years, it could be anywhere in that sense. Like because technology is evolving, we're investing in AI quite a lot. But in 5 years, we will have so much more technologies, and Pluvo will of course go with that. But I cannot really tell you what it looks like. But if you're asking where we're currently focusing on is like we have like a compliance part that's completely ready. We will add a lot of AI features that make it even more possible and easy for people to do everything around learning management. And we're already expanding abroad right now, so we're getting more and more companies outside of the Netherlands. So I hope we will be a sustainable player on a European market. That people in a lot of the countries in Europe will use Pluvo. That's my dream.
Okay. Which countries are you expanding into? Germany,
Yes,
England?
so we already have some customers in England, Belgium, Slovenia for some reasons,
Okay.
Spain. But one of the first target markets is Germany because um, they're always a little bit later than the Netherlands, but they have a lot of obligatory training needs. So that means a great market for us. A lot of factories, a lot of industry, which fits perfect to the how Pluvo can be used. So that will be the
And
first country
yeah,
that we
so
want to penetrate.
and that's then partially driven by compliance needs.
Yes, yeah, because we found out companies they want to invest in employees, but they don't feel the pain. It's more
Yeah.
like a vitamin.
Yeah.
However, if they have to deal with compliance needs, it will be a painkiller, and then they are much more needed and required to invest in a system like us because they have to, and they do it with Excel, and that's not durable when you're with 200 people. So
No.
there's a need, there's a pain. So
Yeah.
that's for us why it fits so pretty well.
Ah, okay. And then the vitamin that your employees stay on board
Yeah,
is
it's
a sort of sweetener, sweetener.
yeah, it shouldn't be, right? It shouldn't be, but we just see in the sales
I'm
trajectories that
I'm just struggling with this. I don't know the German market, job market, but
me neither.
everywhere
Don't know.
I hear there's a shortage of people. So maybe
And
that's
still,
pain.
it should be a pain, and but that what I see, and that's interesting. So I have sometimes like these conversations, like we have a lack of people, therefore we cannot invest in our people, and that's weird, isn't it? But they like we don't have time because we don't have the people. And you know what will happen?
Uh,
More and more people will leave. So I see that around me, right? And not I
that's
see this happening
yeah. So it's they put themselves in a sort of infinite loop, infinite spiral downwards,
until the pain is too big, and then they
or
probably will
until
change it.
there's regulation coming in that says thou shall educate on
Exactly.
this, and then they
But they tried that in Belgium with a system that you like have so much educational days and hours for your job. It's not so easy, but yeah, I think as a company, you should be internally motivated to educate your people and give them the chances to grow because it helps you as well as a company.
yeah, it's an interesting parallel with diversity, I have to say, because everyone knows that it is better for your company to have a diverse team, to have a diverse employee base. Yet, do you see that in tech that it's that idea is catching on?
Of hiring more diversity.
Teams, yeah,
Well, it's a thing I know a lot of people talk about, but if you look at the marks, for example, about investments in more diverse teams, mm,
not happening.
it's something people talk about, but I'm not quite sure if things are really changing.
How do we create pain there? You think?
Yeah, then you have the discussion about shouldn't we regulate it a little bit more, and then you have the liberal people saying like, no, we should be free. However, if we don't regulate it, probably things will not change, is it?
I had an interesting discussion with people from Femstart about how to get more investments in women, in female entrepreneurs. And I think it was Marianne Spear who said, well, we just need to flood the market with female entrepreneurs. because they
And
then
they have to.
they just have to finance this because there's no other way to finance.
I
To
love that. So it just means that we need to stimulate female entrepreneurship much
yeah,
more.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why, like, as a female entrepreneur, I think you should stimulate that around you. So don't be the person that said to me, "Don't do it." I will always say that people have to do it and follow their heart, and try to motivate them to take those steps. We can take it like Dirk Jan, you and me. We can be an example, and maybe if people listen to this podcast and they're listening to your podcast specifically, like you have more episodes in it, I think that that's also a medium that can inspire people to take the leap.
I hope it is. If
I
people
hope
are
it is as
listening,
well.
if women are listening, if there's a woman listening though,
Yeah,
she wants to try working in tech, or she wants to try be an entrepreneur. She doesn't feel she has the background or the education. What do you tell her?
just do it. Just try. Like, you can always go back if you don't like it. If you never try, you will always regret not trying it.
That's yeah,
But that's me. I'm always
yeah,
like, go, let's go. If because
yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I have this theory. I was thinking about it this morning when I rode my bicycle to work, and it for me personally, there's like this little flame sometimes inside me, this little energy bulb when I feel like I want to do something. And for me, and I know more people have that, like what you just told me about your idea before the podcast, when
Mm,
you feel this spark.
yeah,
And of course, you get uncertain and in doubt, but when you feel the spark, I think you should always follow it.
yeah, and it's magical.
It's
If
magical.
if you do, I was literally this morning in as I call it stuiter modus.
Yeah, exactly. Like that.
I like really aesthetic almost, but in a
Yeah,
positive way.
in a positive way. It's one of the best feelings ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And for the listeners who are thinking, "What the heck?" Um, stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yeah.
It will come to your podcast feed at some point that I tell you about this. Um, Henny, there's one more question about this that I was wondering about. We talked about adopting a growth mindset. How does that play in?
I think that changes your whole life. I think a lot of people are stuck in a fixed mindset. I cannot do it. I cannot learn it. I mean, it doesn't mean that I never had that as well. But when I learned, that's nice about working in a learning company. You
Mm,
learn about learning theories, and you also
mm,
have this effect. One point is the golem effect, and you have the other one. So if you tell a class that they are stupid, they will have like lower grades than when you tell them they are smart. It's the same that you can tell yourself. If I know I can learn it, so I see it a lot in my sport. I do calisthenics. That means that I
mm,
have to learn weird stuff, like
mm.
gymnastics a little bit. That when I tell myself I cannot do something, I cannot do it, and I know when I know like I can do it, suddenly stuff clicks. And I think that's the same with entrepreneurship or your career. Your own mindset is so important in everything that you do. And if you only talk negatively and think like, oh, I cannot learn it, of course you will not. But I really believe that you can learn anything. And I think that people should always try to learn everything that they want to learn because of coding, I was not very technical. And then I decided this Christmas that I wanted to take a hacker course. And first I was like, oh, I'm not, I didn't have like a technical education, but it's like, oh, I can learn anything. And it was really fun actually.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
Curiosity and learning things is absolutely fun.
exactly.
Even though we get taught at school by our classmates that you're not cool if you're learning.
Yeah, it
At
is. And
least I was taught
you
that.
were,
Yeah.
because you were a book nerd. So did you say it?
No. I wasn't. Actually, I was quite the opposite from a book nerd. Uh, I didn't start reading until I was like 10, I think.
Okay.
At least I read, but I was like too lazy. Much more.
Obligatory reading.
It was more a television person.
Oh yeah.
But no, but I was keen to get the knowledge. So I would be really sitting silent in front of the classroom, which is like not the thing cool boys do,
Oh,
let's
they're
say.
just not learning, right? That's
No,
cool. Yeah,
you're not supposed to. You're supposed to nag the teacher, etc. Anyway,
exactly. You like
but
learning.
I always like learning, and it's
Yeah.
still still helps me deal with curiosity problems. Let's say.
Yeah, that's interesting because like in Dutch you have to say nieuwsgierig aagje.
Yeah,
And they always called me like that and I thought it was a bad thing, you know? I was like, oh, I asked too many questions.
yeah, and there's no such thing. I think.
No, if we know back then that was a good thing, you
Yeah,
know? You have to
yeah,
be curious. And I know my teacher told me like, oh, you're too curious. And then I look back like, oh, but it's good to be curious.
yeah. How can men adopt a growth mindset when it comes to making tech more inclusive?
Yeah, I got this question beforehand and then I was really thinking about it. I also discussed it with my colleagues like, hey, what do you think? Got a point blank. They were like, I don't know. uh, and I mean,
Thanks for confirming my business idea, by the way. Anyway,
yeah, exactly. So they were like, so for me personally, like my co-founders, you know, they really gave me as a 24 years old woman the chance to like do my own thing, and they never judged me as being a woman. They really like, oh, we want to give her the chance to do this with us. So that's also about that. Like if give chances to people and motivate them to do it. So that was for me a big deal changer. If they wouldn't be as open, like they're not like typical like, hey, I want to protect my own part. They were really like, oh, we give you the chance because we believe in you. And I find it important that they told me that, you know, like they really created a space for me to grow into the person where I am now. Um, but what I was also thinking about was in tech in general, is that a lot of tech is also developed and tested on men. So I think if we have talking about inclusive tech, it should also be like, hey, in your whole from the product point of view, like, hey, how do you develop it? For who do you develop it? And with whom are you testing it? So that was also a thought that crossed my mind.
so more inclusive test panels as well.
Yeah, it should be in
But
everything.
also, if I can just rewind, I think it's more like, okay, half of your customer base will be a woman. So why is it only men developing it?
You could say that. And we have one female developer now.
Hmm.
Uh, I was so happy with that because it was not the easiest to find. But
How has that changed the product?
oh, that's a good question. Well, I think a lot of things have changed general in the company the past of years. So I'm not quite sure like what was that
Uh,
specific change.
uh,
But I think it's better for the development team in general that they also have like a different point of view in developing.
but did you actually see that also feed in terms of the discussions that were
Yeah, because
had?
I'm not very developed. Like I'm not very in the product team. Of course, I mean I talk with them and I see stuff, but it's not my team. But I saw a shift. It's more cooperative, I would say. Yeah.
That's good,
Yeah.
right?
So that's a good thing. But yeah, I mean, in the future, I would like to have it 50-50. But trying to get there, but it's not as easy as it sounds.
Is that because what makes it difficult to hire more women in the development area?
I think if we do like an application, then I think 90% of the applicants are male. So
So there's 10% women.
yeah, it's not so much. And most of them that apply, of course, like they don't qualify at all, like male and female. But we don't get a lot of applicants. And I have the same when I had a sales vacancy. I mostly got male respondents. So that's interesting. Eh? Like, hey, how are we formulating a vacancy? And I think that sales and development guys mostly think, oh, we can do sales. But I believe that women are mostly better in sales because we can listen better. But a lot of women think, nah, I can do account management, but not like sales. Well, so that's also like, how do you perceive a specific job description?
Yeah, it's a matter of wording. At least that's what I know from
Yeah, it
a
is.
number of episodes. That actually the text the vacancy or the job ad that you have actually does matter a
Uh-huh.
lot.
That's true. Yep.
to the point that if you put underneath like, hey, we know that from data that women only apply when they meet 110% of the requirements, but we want to invite you to apply anyway, even if you meet 40, because the guys will start applying at 40 and bluff their way
Yeah.
through the remaining 60,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
which,
true. And I think that 'cause we are not recruiter experts, so we always use recruiters for it. So hopefully, they will get better in it as well.
yeah. So one thing I learned from a recruiter is that they will come up with the most probable candidate to meet your requirements, which is usually someone that looks like them or looks
Yeah.
like someone who they have hired before. So there's a lot of implied bias there.
Yeah, I believe that as well. And I know there's also a shift going on there. You have like these tech tools, which make it easier to use. But then
Um,
we're still like SME, so I'm not investing 100,000 euros to get a tool like that. But I hope that with all the comes of technology, we can make a positive shift in that as well.
cool. Sounds like a great place to close. Henny Hoekstra, thanks very much for an amazing conversation. Really enjoyed this. Also, the insight about mental health and about therapy. Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you as well for this lovely
Yeah,
conversation. Thanks for inviting.
yeah. If people want to learn more about you or about Pluvo, where would you like to send them?
Well, you can always add me on LinkedIn, Henny Hoekstra, and Pluvo. You can also look on our website, pluvo.com.
Cool. And we'll include those links in the show notes. Henny, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you
Listeners,
as well.
yeah, listeners, thank you very much for listening. And until the next episode, keep being awesome. Well, that's it for episode 120 of Women Disrupting Tech with Henny Hoekstra, titled How Curious Minds Build Better Companies in Tech. Henny and I hope that our conversation encourages you to use your curiosity as a superpower. If you have any questions for Henny, please leave them in the comments on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. I'll make sure you'll receive an answer. When you want to connect with Henny or learn more about Pluvo, please check out the links in the show notes. As usual, you can find the show notes at womendisruptingtech.blog, and the link is also in the description. If you've enjoyed listening to this episode, please consider leaving a rating or a review on Apple or Spotify. Leaving a rating or a review helps new listeners find the podcast and supports my guests by giving them a bigger platform. If you're a regular listener, please make sure to follow Women Disrupting Tech on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or YouTube. Following is a simple, zero-cost way to support Henny and my other guests in making inclusion in tech the new normal by the end of 2032. For more about Women Disrupting Tech, you can also follow the podcast on social media. You can find us everywhere as at Women Disrupting Tech. You can also find us on Substack. On Substack, you'll find in-depth stories and behind-the-scenes insights from each episode, plus trends that I've spotted across 120 conversations. So don't forget to subscribe to Substack for more Women Disrupting Tech. Finally, if you want to connect with me directly, please reach out via email dirkjan@womendisruptingtech.blog or connect with me on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, simply search for my name and you'll find me. With that, I wish you a wonderful day. I hope to see you in the next episode. And until then, as always, keep being awesome.